Hello and welcome to ReduceCO2Now. This presentation is about the project ReduceCO2Now itself. So it's really like, what is the problem? What is our approach? What are we doing? And what are we focusing right now and in the future? So be very welcome. Let's go into what is the problem. So here is the reason why we exist. Humans emit over 40 billion tons of CO2 every year. And you see there on the left side, the CO2 level in the atmosphere is rising, and it's rising faster each year. That's because we also produce each year more CO2, which gets into the air. And the result is that the globe, the temperature of the planet is warming up. You see there's a slide on the right side. It's from the World Meteorological Organization and shows that especially from the 1960s onward, the temperature of the planet is warming up, and it also seems to be increasingly faster warming up. And that's not a wonder. So that's our thing. We are here because there's already all kinds of consequences like drought, wildfires, sea level rise, and so on. And we want to do something and look at the world with a systemic view. We want to find something which is really making a difference. So what are we doing? We want to bring clarity to complexity, because understanding climate change is not like really a simple thing. Most people really don't know much about climate change, the facts, and so on. So we are doing like social media articles and videos, to inform the public. We are building mobile applications and games, to get in touch with people. We are doing like books on climate change. We are doing research on CO2 and the solutions, as well as especially in the area of food and CO2 impact of food. And we are working about these 4 areas. One is food and diet change, biomass burial, reforestation, and how to reduce fossil fuel use on a global scale. What do? We want to develop applications people actually want. We want to get in touch with people by giving them software applications for their phones, for example, which they really need with a very competitive edge. So the areas we are looking at right now is food and diet, calorie counting, recipes, and so on. This is like the CO2 diet app. And then in the future, we are probably going to do something like personal finance, dating, relationships, family life, friendships, and communities, and other stuff. And we are looking at something to give the user real value. So first of all, we want to give all these things free to use. So there's no advertising on, they get the full functionality. So they're not getting charged for using our applications. The users are also in full control of their own data. There is no spying, tracking anything, and you keep the whole data on your phone. It's not even on our servers. We're going to be open source, transparent, and trusted. So we want to bring something which nowadays you don't get. You usually get, when you have a free app, there's some sort of caveat where you're actually paying. We want to make a difference there. Another stream we are working on are games really for fun. It really must be fun and addictive, and you like to play it, and you are learning something about global warming and climate change just as you go. For example, one of our projects is a Minecraft mod called ClimateCraft, where you just play the game Minecraft, and there's some complexity inside now with CO2 and temperature and so on. So you learn something about climate systems, energy, carbon flows, and so on. Again, it will be free, no advertising. You have like full control of your private data, no spying, open source, trusted, and so on. That's like the thing. But of course, the main thing of the games is they must be fun first, and then they are like sort of educational second. Another area we are working on is social media. We want to use social media to grow the awareness about global warming and climate change, educate the public, and bring the message over to people that it's really urgent, that it's going to be much more severe than you think, and base this everything in science, scientific facts, and data. Because, hey, let's face it, 99% of the population have absolutely no clue about global warming of climate change, even though there is like lots of talk about this stuff. But most people don't really understand the simple facts. So that's like our task. And we are like available on all kinds of social media platforms. And especially we are looking for specialists how to grow these channels and the interaction. Hey, and of course, you can join our global team. We have people from all around the world, and each contribution matters, even though we would just be working like maybe some hours per week or so for the project. That is really very valuable. And we look for people and skills in all kinds of areas like social media, content creation, writing, education, science and engineering, software development, of course, design, user interface, graphical design, project management, and so on and so on. So you have some skills, you want to work, join us, we will find the right job for you. So we have a much longer presentation about the whole problem of global warming and climate change, also on the solutions, but like really simply, it's put like this. The world is taking black stuff, coal, oil, and so on from the ground, burning it, more CO2. We are working on the side to reduce these emissions, and on the other side by increasing the amount of CO2 which is getting stored back into the ground. So that are like the two main areas we are working on. So the main solution area we are working on is biomass carbon storage. So we want to use biomass and put it back into the ground. Plants, nature as such, is really good in catching CO2 from the atmosphere and through photosynthesis capturing it into some physical form. And if now this biomass is dead, it's going to decay. And we want to protect this biomass from decaying, that it is not going back into the CO2 cycle. So the idea is to capture all this carbon by taking biomass and putting it into the ground in physical form or in liquid form. That could be like some industries there. You take dead wood, make a hole, put the stuff inside, cover it. It could also be like you take biomaterial, you liquefy it, and then pump it into the ground. And of course, all the things like what we can do to reforest the planet is really good. And as diets have a huge impact on this reforestation issue, we're also looking at the diet issues. And what we envisage is something like an eBay system for carbon credits. There are some areas which a lot of people always look at in the area of fighting global warming and climate change. What we don't really cover in our project is we don't have anything against it, no, not at all, but we are focusing on some other areas. Like a lot of people say, hey, we want to produce more solar energy. We put up more wind farms. We look at electrical vehicles on installation of buildings. All these kind of things are, of course, good, and we will use them in social media and help there if necessary. But this is not our focus, because the problem is we might be producing more and more energy from alternative sources. But at the same time, we also find more and more ways to get rid of all this energy by, let's say, AI, crypto, streaming, and so on. So we find more ways to get rid of this energy. By the way, we need all this energy to run more air conditioners in the future because, by the way, it's warming up the planet. We get more heat. So we will find always new ways of actually consuming all this energy. That's why that's an area where we not really focus on. We look on solutions which have an impact on a global scale. So now we do already software development for something we call the CO2 diet app. And that's an application which allows you to support a diet. You can count calories and so on. So it's going to provide you all kinds of stuff what other applications also do on the market. Why? What is now really our competitive edge? First of all, there is going to be the CO2 impact of your food in there. But also at the same time, the whole thing is going to be for free. We are going to have a very high level of transparency. We are handling your data in a way that it's on your phone, and it's a very high level of data privacy. There is no spying, tracking, and so on. And of course, it's going to be an open source development because we want to have the people to actually trust us. And our vision is that millions of people are going to use our diet app on a daily basis. And that's going to also change their behavior in the way they're eating and what they're eating. We want to build other applications as well, which you could be like in the area of relationships, family, personal finance, food and nutrition, all these kind of things. And we were always going to be with our Reduce CO2 Now model. You know, the data privacy is a very high level. You are in full control of your data. We are not spying on you. There's no advertising. It's not annoying. You get the full functionality. You don't have to pay for it and all these kind of things. How do we achieve that? Well, we are using software developers which are volunteers. So our development costs for the whole thing are like really, really low. And that's our competitive advantage, that we are building a network of volunteers all around the world who want to build something and make an impact in the world. So our recipe to make these apps successful is, hey, first of all, free access. You don't have to pay for it. Your privacy is there really very valued. You own and control your data. You're not going to sell it to us and we are going to sell your personal information somehow. The data handling is completely transparent. It will be an open collaboration. We use open source components. We use open source development. So people can check what our apps are actually doing. The roadmap is, currently ongoing, CO2 diet app. In the future, dating, friendship finder, maybe family organizer, finance manager, all areas where you really want to have your privacy on a very high level. So another area we're working on are games. And here we have one game. It's called Climate Craft. It's a mod kit, a mod for Minecraft. Minecraft is one of the most played games around the world. And it is, parents think it has sort of an educational effect on children because it's very much creative as well. So, and for us, the advantage is we don't have to build the whole game. We just have to build the mod kit. And Climate Craft is giving you an experience when you do something like digging for coal, burning something. The CO2 value in the atmosphere of your Minecraft world is changing. And so what you do is going to have consequences on the world, on the CO2, on the temperature. And then there's like consequences like rising temperature, environmental change. The stuff is really, really interesting. And it gives you an educational experience while having fun. That's the idea. And we want to do other games as well. In Minecraft, you have like all kinds of things. You can dig for coal, you can take some wood and burn it and all these things. So your actions are going to have an influence on the CO2 level of the world, which then is going to have an influence on the temperature, which then is going to have an effect on the sea level is rising. Some areas which might have been grass are going to become desert and so on. So it's really like easy to simulate it. Of course, we have like notched up the kind of impact compared to reality. But the idea is that, hey, what I'm doing here as a single player is going to have an effect in the world. And it's also like a possibility of a multiplayer experience. So, hey, really cool thing. You want to join this? Join our team. Here's the idea for another game, and we call this Climate Wars. It's sort of a little bit inspired by the war in Ukraine, by the Iran war. And, we have like a scenario that there's one country, and for a very specific reason, everybody would be dying if the CO2 level in the atmosphere becomes like 450 parts per million. So that population, that country has to do really urgently something against the rise of CO2. And now they can it could be like a strategy game where you start like talking to other people to influence them to use less fossil fuels, or you become more radical and actually start wars and blow up refineries, down oil tankers, close the Strait of Hormuz, destroy pipelines, all these kind of things. Because let's face it, if you don't make an impact urgently, all your population is going to die. So you are like taking really drastic measures. And you want to learn this kind of thing, please get in contact with us. We use like a lot of designers for this. So how could climate wars look like? Well, there's like two basic concepts for the time being. One could be sort of a strategy game where you do like diplomacy, politics, you try maybe to coerce others to do something about CO2 levels. and so on. So it's maybe like something like a board game, like Risk or so on. On the other side, a lot of people like first-person shooters or like games where you actually like sink something. Like there's this game where you try to sink Battleship, where you try to sink other ships. So it could be something like this, where you have like naval combat, tactical missions, or first-person shooter. You blow up refineries, oil tankers, pipelines, put naval mines out there, and so on. So here we need like the whole story, game designers, story development, world building, programming, everything. It's really like on a concept stage, this game. So one area we are really passionate about is food and diet. And food and diet really have a very, very strong impact on the climate. For example, we use lots and lots of our crops to feed animals to eat in turn then the animals. But also like, for example, cows, they also produce methane, which is also a climate greenhouse gas. And that's why red meat has a very high climate input. And imagine like the whole world would eat sort of a vegetarian diet. That would be good. But we don't want to force the whole world of eating just one way. We just want to show how much the CO2 impact is there and like convince people to eat more plant-based food, less of the bad stuff. And like, hey, if like every month you're just like having one really, really good steak to enjoy meat, hey, that would be fine, because we are not like vegans or vegetarians saying you have to eat like exactly like this. We are more open. We just want to like do something for the CO2 levels in the world. So how do we want to have an impact on food and diet? Our approach is that we are doing this CO2 diet app to raise the awareness of users of how much CO2 they're actually producing, how much impact their food choices have on the climate, and help them make better choices, highlighting instead of animal-based food, going to more plant-based food. We also want to give people a psychological support with this application and other means. We are coming to that in the other slides. And also like our philosophy is it must be first very useful and it's just educational at the same time. So we want to give people an application which supports them in their diet choices and other things. And they learn something about the climate and so on by the way. One of the areas we're working on is how to increase the prices of fossil fuels, especially oil. And one of the things we were thinking about, instead of like blowing up pipelines or like war in Ukraine, closing the Strait of Hormuz, which are all influencing the oil price right now, our idea was how can we produce something which is really valuable and it's totally has integrity, and we can use it to influence the oil price. And the idea was to do the fossil fuel storage fund. Basically, the idea is you buy fossil fuels, but we keep them in the ground for a very long-term investment. It's a little bit similar, like you would be buying gold and then put it into a safe. Here, we keep this stuff in the ground. So we have really low cost for storage. So the fossil fuel storage fund is basically under construction. We can use lots and lots of help here from people who are good in economics, how to set up an investment funds and so on. How it basically should work is we are going to acquire the rights to fossil fuel reserves, like we are going to buy an oil field, and then we are going to keep that oil in the ground. We keep this as an investment, so we own that oil, which is in place, and we keep it there. And we want to store value here really for generations. One advantage is that it's really inflation resistant. And that's how it's going to work. It should be very attractive for people who want to store long-term wealth, for example, like into a retirement fund, because otherwise you store it in the money system. The money is getting printed by states all the time. So you have inflation and your money isn't worth anything anymore. That's like the idea for the fossil fuel storage fund. Well, one of the things we want to build, it's on our roadmap, is something we call Amazon for services. It's a marketplace for services. When you go to Amazon, you can buy products, but you can't buy there any kind of service. Amazon is only for products. We want to build something similar to Amazon, but you can sell services all around the world. And that could be simple services like, for example, education, or it could be that somebody is like helping you in a diet. Our long-term vision is that you don't really need much, just smartphone and internet access and maybe some language skills and some knowledge. And then you can like sell this all around the world. And we want to build a platform where people, especially from low-income countries, can sell their services all around the world. So imagine you would be doing a diet. And now imagine you have a person who's calling you every day at a certain time. And that person is making telephone call or WhatsApp call with you and asking you just simple questions like, hey, what did you do yesterday? How much did you eat? Did you follow your plan? What are you going to do today? And so on. So basically somebody who's holding you accountable. The only thing you need for this is like a smartphone, internet access, and the person needs to speak your language. And you could be paying like, let's say $1, euro or so for like a 10-minute call every day to that person. That might be not much money for you, actually helping you much more in your effort to achieve your thing. But that person is going to make maybe a salary for a whole family there. And we are, especially here in the area, we want to empower especially women and people from low-income countries to not work in factories, but to provide valuable services all around the world. That's Amazon. A lot of people are already quite climate aware. And there's like organizations or companies who want to offer products and say, hey, we are carbon neutral. But like this carbon neutrality is usually like, there's a lot of scams going on. It's not really working very well. But imagine we would have something like an eBay for carbon credits. And simple people, somebody in a low income country is just doing one of the things like to dig a hole, put some stuff inside. So he's doing something really valuable for the sequestration to store carbon back into the ground. And we want to make it very simple for a smartphone user, which really simple with like an app. The smartphone user is like documenting his work, uploading the evidence, and then we do something like a global marketplace. It's basically like eBay. You have something, you want to sell it, you make some photographs of it, you describe it, and then you sell it and you get the money. That's basically the idea of our eBay for carbon credit. So how would something like this actually work? A lot of people think, hey, you must be certified and there must be a certification agency before you can sell some sort of carbon credits around the world. But here, hey, it's like rather simple. You do these carbon projects, like dig a hole, put some wood inside, cover it, and so on. You take your smartphone, make some photographs of the place before, then when you have dug the hole, when you put the stuff inside and so on, you make several photographs. We could use AI to actually evaluate this. Then you cover the whole thing, close it, put it up all on the application, and then you like could auction it off or sell it to a fixed price. And hey, that's like really simple. We could even like get satellite imagery to check on you that you are actually doing this. And that's how the whole thing works. And we want to build this on a global scale, that we can make an eBay system for carbon credits where simple people can actually make a difference and sell their projects to the world. So thank you very much for watching. Please follow us on ReduceCO2Now.com, join our Discord server and support the project. Please also follow us here, subscribe, repost, and please also leave a comment. Thank you very much for watching. Have a good time. Let's do something and reduce CO2 now.